This week on I have no fucking clue what's going on with game development, let me introduce you to Battlefield 6. Battlefield 6 is shitting the bed quite hard. I mean, I want you to think about malaria, diarrhea, okay? I want you to think about bad images when you think about this. Why? Because it's true. Now, multiple people online have talked about the whole, they took 9 months off because they were fatigued and stressed and overworked. I'm sorry, but 9 months is a long motherfucking time to take off, especially for people who are developing the game. I don't see why these people needed 9 months. I get that some of you out there are gonna probably put mean comments to me saying like, well, they've got a stressful job, these developers. I mean, true, but I can think of a number of jobs that pay you $100K a year that are, more stressful than this by far. So one of the things that I've got going in my head right now is like, we know that the dev teams morale is done. Okay. But as you can see here in the background, potentially massive budget exceeding 40 million. Here's the issue. They're saying that they need to make up at least, I would say at least a break-even cost, I assume, to consider it not a failure. A pretty high break-even cost. Their budget is growing and growing and growing. And it supposedly is going to release, I believe, I thought it was supposed to be this year. I think it's next year. I don't know if this actually, so if it would jump from the 22 million, I don't trust any of this because it's AI. But I'm trying to get you guys the facts. Coming in 2025. No, okay, so it is. It's 2026. March. Supposed to be. But let me tell you something. These guys are aiming for 100 million players. Now, what does that mean? That means that the studio is projecting that that's what they either need or want, and that if it doesn't meet that standard, then it's a failure. And what does that mean for the franchise? What does that mean for monetization and all that? It could have very damaging effects on how they treat the game. Now, the Stop Killing Games movement has already talked about this, but one of the fun, interesting little quirks about companies is they would rather nuke something than to keep pouring money into it if they think it's going to be if it's not going to be a success, right? Because what their rationale is up there at the big boys table is that, well, we put 400 million into it, and it's gonna climb higher than that. It's gonna go way higher than that. I don't see it not going higher than that. But here's the thing. With that budget climbing, and then they have to offer servers, and then they have to say, okay, well, what if less than 100 million people play the game? Where do they need to be on monetization? Where do they need to be on player base? Where do they need to be on everything? If they deem that the player base is too small, say they only had 10 million players, say they only had 5 million players, who knows how bad it could get? I don't think that they're going to manage to find 100 million people to play this game. But if they do, that's fantastic. I just kind of feel like the numbers have gone down over the years, not necessarily up. But I know that Call of Duty is pissing a lot of people off by changing to the Battle Royale style. Some people like it, though. So people have moved from other battle royales like Apex to Call of Duty because they were like, well, something's better than nothing. So it's got this kind of like balance, right? So I'll say this. They could foreseeably nuke the game, put it into, service mode where they don't give updates and stuff like that because they've already sunk too much money into it if the player base is just significantly lower than they thought. Why? Because the servers cost money, and in the beginning, if they're hyping up that there should be 100 million players, then they're going to have space for 100 million players. Well, what does that mean? It means they've rented or they've purchased the equipment to do that. And the cost is still there. It doesn't matter if the players don't show up to the table. The cost is still there. Now, the running cost is another cost, right? So that's going to add on top of that 400 million, as well as the equipment and everything and all the staff that they need to take tickets, to do whatever. So, as you can see, this whole thing could get well out of hand. It's not that they have a set in stone budget of, like, say, 400 million, and that if they sell enough copies and clear that, then they're in the golden. No, there's going to be long-term running costs, and it's going to keep going up. They're going to be, the sales of the game are going to be fighting against itself to see which dog wins in the end. So if the costs are just exceedingly high, who knows what's going to happen? Because, will we see something like this being pulled from a major studio? I don't know. How much money could you burn right in front of yourself before pulling the plug? Because it's always better to pull the plug on something and know the money you're going to lose than to keep pouring money into something assuming you're going to win. I mean, that's just a gambler's mentality, because people always say, oh man, I really love that game. If only they'd poured another 10 million and another 10 million and another 100 million, and it's like, that's not how these things work. Yeah, maybe with a long enough run and a long enough game and what have you, somebody could potentially drag out their doom long enough to turn a profit, but most developers, most publishers, most studios, that's not how business works. If something's failed, you take it off the shelf. You do not keep pouring and pouring and pouring into it. And it used to be a lot simpler before the whole live service shit to do that, where you would see something failed, but you could still give the product to people, people could still play it, and it was the whole thing. And that Stop Killing Games movement has talked about this. I think we're going to see a lot more bad stuff coming out of the Battlefield 6 before we see better. I will say, who knows if they're even going to hit that 100 million player base. Oh my god, I love the thumbnails. People aren't even giving it a chance. I will say, oh, look at this one. How much does it cost to make a Battlefield game? It's like 400 million. The others didn't. Yeah. People are saying it's got to exceed 1 billion. Doesn't have to, but it's gonna. Probably it's gonna. People are projecting it out much further using what I'm talking about, which is the potential of all the other costs that'll go into it. Because you have to understand, obviously, marketing for a game like this, kind of word of mouth, like it's already doing itself, but they're going to put a marketing budget to it. All the staff that they have to hire, all the people that will continue to update the game, all of these costs are still running in the background. Just because the game is out doesn't mean their development has been paused because of the live service thing. And I think, in my opinion, in order to get their money back, in order to actually allow this thing to survive, they're going to have to monetize the game like predatorily. I mean, they have got to monetize this game no matter what. Like, they are going to try and take as much money from you as they can. I imagine there's going to be $100-something editions of this game. There's going to be season passes. There's going to be skins. There's going to be whatever. There's going to be a ton of shit in it, and they're going to have to insist that you purchase it. So I don't really know what all they're planning on doing, but the weird thing is I heard that they're going to have a free-to-play aspect of this game, and I just don't understand how they can do it. I don't understand how they could do it with, like, I get the single player, like, purchasing, but to have it free to play for multiplayer, maybe that's how they're going to hit their 100 million. Maybe that's what they're projecting, that, well, we give it for free. But it's like, you can't give this game out for free and expect to make your money back. I guess you can, in a way. But it assumes that you, a free-to-play player, will be putting well above 20 in, well above 100 in. They assume that you're going to be putting a lot of money into this game, much more than you would if it was just a paid game. But I don't see it. I don't see fans. I feel like fans of different genres, of different games, of different stuff have started to wake up to the realization that they're eating big hunks of shit and they don't like it. So I don't know how far that these studios can keep going, relying on the fact that they think you're dumb and that you'll buy anything. I mean, they need you to pay their bills. Like, these guys are not poor, and they just take and take and take and can't give anything back. Because at least if they gave you something that you wanted to play and loved, you wouldn't have any problem doing that like we did back in the day. You know, I think back to Halo, and I don't think anyone ever complained about the cost of anything related to Halo. I know I didn't. But now they can't even give you a game you'll enjoy. And you know, it's like, one of the things that's going to be hard for this game is going to be cheating. Do you think that they're going to stop the cheaters? Everyone keeps saying that these companies will eventually crack down and get them all. You think they're going to stop? No, they're not going to actually deal with the issue. So here we are, once again, another shooter, another day. But that's all for this one. If you watch to the end, give me a sub. If you like the stuff that's around here, you know, don't put up with these other people on YouTube. You know, come to me for some news. If you liked it, leave a comment. I answer every single comment, and have a good day.